Let me tell you, I saw an article from the Harvard Business Review that after I finished reading it, I had to share with you because I think it will make a huge difference in what you do. And I'm going to bring it to tech here in a second. They listed three things that you can do that can make you more effective as a leader, as a person that works from home, several other things. Here's what they found. And that's what I want to share with you because I think it'll make you better at what you do. These are the three things they found when they surveyed a bunch of business leaders. I'm doing it in reverse order. So, number three, lifelong learning. So, that means you just keep adding more information to your brain, applying it to your work, applying it to your what you're doing, your tasks. That will help you in the long run. So think of the long game. This will help you in the long run. I heard David Epstein. He said that basically when you learn a number of things in the long run, it pays off than just being hyper focused in one specialization area. He's looked at athletes, he looked at a whole bunch of different case studies. Generalization wins out in the long run for most people. I pass that on. So number three, lifelong learning. Let's go to numero dos. Numero dos. Number two, leading with vulnerability and humility. I got to tell you, this is going to be for me one of probably the most challenging one of the three that I saw. Because I think this, if you're a type A kind of person and you're headstrong and you're gonna do it this way and it's got to be done that way, this tends to be the hardest one. But I've heard Gary V, the famous Gary Vaynerchuk. Big props to Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks a lot about this, about being strength with humility, strength in being humble and in being vulnerable. And I know that it almost sounds like an oxymoron because in the business world, boy, it's tough. You get hit every day almost, and being tough is part of the game. And if you played sports like I have, there is no room for weakness. But in business, we do collide with colleagues and competitors. And according to this information from the Harvard Business Review, this tends to work when you're in the business environment. And I don't know, this is going to be a tough one for me this year as I look at that, as I lead my team. Sometimes you're at your best, sometimes you're not. And, I guess that is being vulnerable. Try to challenge yourself this year with a little more of that. And here's the number one, and this is where we bring it into tech. Number one, truly, well, let me point the right way. Am I pointing? Truly listening. Truly listening. And they went on to talk about it in a number of areas, but in tech, and no matter if you're not in tech, if you can't hear, if you can't hear the person you're talking to, whether you're physically sitting in front of them or you're doing it virtually. And for 35 million of you today, and that's what the Labor of Bureau and Statistics says, 35 million people are sitting at home working today in one capacity or other, some full time, some doing it hybrid. But either way, 35 million in the US have to do some type of form from work. And a lot of them need something like this. And that's where I'm going to give you a couple of pointers, a couple of tips that will make that skill that they voted the number one skill right over here. Let's see, truly listening a little bit easier for you this year. I've been fortunate to be able to work from home in some capacity virtually a little over 20 years, and things have evolved. They've gotten better. We could only do this over that telephone. Now it's pretty much everything's laptop driven with virtual meetings. And if you truly want to listen, the last thing you want is distractions to get in the way of that. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to identify all the different distractions that I'm familiar with, and I identified 45 different distractions, especially for the home worker. So if you're the home worker, there are a number of things that will derail your productivity. And your productivity goes down when cognitive load is a big word. Cognitive load goes up. And cognitive load, think of it like your laptop. The more programs and apps that you have open on the laptop, the more you're going to hear the fans spinning and making noise, working harder. The same thing. The more, if I've got music playing in the background, this was interesting because also David Epstein got into this when he was recently featured on one of the DOAC podcasts. He mentioned how even music, like light music that you have in the background, maybe wonderful vibes and sound bowls and all of that other stuff that does get you into the mood, your brain is paying attention to it, even if you're not fully aware of it.
So don't listen to music while I'm doing my work.
Even though it's pleasant and can help your affect and can motivate, but it also does have an impairment on cognitive function because you are paying attention to it to some degree.
So imagine another app and another app and another app open. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a loud neighbor, maybe you live in the flight path, you or the lawnmower guys come by. You have the electronic distractions through the day, whether they're the notifications on the phone, on the computer, and it all works against you in your ability to focus. And without the ability to focus properly, get back to the thing that we're looking at, makes it harder to listen because your brain is got all these inputs that it's trying to make sense of. And whether you're fully aware of it or not, that's what is happening.
Focus is a challenge because this is not the situation that we evolved in, right? We evolved in a situation where paying attention to novel stimuli is a really good thing. And sometimes it's still a very good thing. But it's at odds with a lot of these modern things that we're trying to do that are pretty new tasks for people.
Your brain is always trying to make sense of the world around us, in front of us, trying to filter out some of those things. And sometimes we get overwhelmed. So let me help you a little bit with that. So in the tech space, which is where I live and play, something like the Jabra Evolve 275. And if you're on Amazon now, we've got that featured on the carousel. It does a great job of filtering out those things. I'm also going to show you here in a minute the microphone, because when you talk to people, you also want them to hear you clearly. So let's see if we can shrink myself. There we go. All right. I've had these headphones for a while now, several months. I've had the opportunity to use them. I have used it inside my office, outside. I've done conference calls, video calls, used it on all the different platforms, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. It's actually a really cool feature in here for Microsoft Teams I'm going to talk about in a second. And you know what? In the 20 years, and I've been selling these types of electronic products for 20 years, I would put this in one of my top 5 go-to products for work from home. And the reason is that when they put this together, it had a lot of features that most people that are working from home, and if we're talking about those 45 distractions, this will take care of many of those distractions. Now, by the way, if you are curious and want to know more about those 45 distractions, I'm going to I'm going to encourage you to drop me a comment on social media. I'm going to put it here in the chat. 45 distractions. Send us a comment. And somebody on my team can send that to you. No pitching, no, just here you go. Boom. Just an educational piece for you to use for yourself or with your team. Yeah, send it to your team. The awareness factor will help in the long run. So let's start with who's going to be the ideal user here. If you are somebody that is going to be on the phones or in virtual meetings, talking to customers, talking to colleagues, talking to patients, and you do that for more than an hour a day. You may not do all the talking, but you're the one that has to hear the information. This is for you. If you're someone that maybe on occasion you get on a virtual meeting, maybe the expenses may not be for you. There's a couple of other cheaper items that we have that may work for you. But if you are truly dialed in and you need that extra, let's say that extra capability to make sure both you are heard properly as well as you being able to hear people properly, this is the one you want. Let me point out a few things that I like. I think you'll like as well. If you're a Microsoft Teams user, a lot of people don't know that this button right here will help you every time you have a meeting. Every time maybe you get a notification, you step out, you go to the bathroom, you come back, you've got 45 tabs running on your computer. All you have to do is press that button and boop, instantly the Microsoft Teams app comes up in the front of the screen. Makes life easier if you've got if you only ever have one tab at a time. And I don't know that many people anymore that just have one tab. They usually have a 40, 50, 60. I've had 100 tabs open at once, and you can't find Microsoft Teams. All you got to do is press that button right there. Boom. And it does a couple of other nifty things on Teams, but that's probably the most important thing. You don't have to mess around with grabbing the mouse. Boom. Number two, when you're connected, if you've got people around you, or even in the office, if you're using in the office, this once it's connected, these indicators will light up, and you've got an indicator here, an indicator there. See if we can zoom in on it, so you could see right here. You've got LED indicators letting people know that you're in the zone, or you're trying to focus, you're on a call, whatever. That's what you want. You don't want those distractions. And sometimes people don't know that you're on, even though you may have the headphones. But those lights, especially if somebody is around you all the time, or you're in an office in a cubicle, they'll come to know that when those lights are on, you're not to be bothered. That's one less distraction that you got to worry about. Okay. Another thing, this I got to say, besides the Microsoft Teams, because there's a ton of users out there that are Microsoft Teams users, this boom in terms of making life easier, I'm going to show you and put it on my head, is the way to go. This is, you guaranteed, you will see more and more headphones do this. So when I don't want to talk, it just neatly slides into place. So it's very sleek. I love that. This is a great Danish design. Big props to Jabra for doing that. But now if I want to talk, man, look at that. That microphone comes right out, and it's going to pick up your voice whole lot better. See if we can get a better focus on it. There we go. Whole lot better now that the microphone is in what they call performance order. Just really, the microphone is out. Another little but big thing. See this button? This can also mute the call. So if you're on Teams or Zoom or any app for that matter, you press that button. From this button, it'll mute. Here's the other way to mute. I love this even better. Bam, folds in, you're muted. Boom, you flip it out, you're unmuted. Let me caveat this, because this is where now, from a tech standpoint, this is where some people miss this part. And if you don't listen to this part, you're gonna probably not be able to use this properly.
Get ready for a pro tip.
Let me do this. Here's the mute. Look at this. Before we go to the laptop, watch this. I'm going to flip that back. Look at that. Now you hear my voice. Now look at this meter. Let's see here. So the meter tells you that I'm talking, right? So now watch this. And now I'm back in the. Now watch this. Let's say you're in a meeting, and you don't want people to hear you sip on your coffee, which is annoying. I've had colleagues that done that. You know who you are, and you hear the. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. Don't be. Or you got to go to the bath. Probably the second most asked question. People, hey, I want to move around. I want to go to the bathroom or whatever. Here's what you do. You got to get up or take a drink. Okay, so you get the point. Nobody will be able to hear you. So now I'm going to walk away. Keep watching this meter. So I'm going to walk away over here, and I'm going to be off to the side, and you should still be able to hear. Casually walk back now over to the chair, sit down, and I can come back and rejoin the meeting in progress. This is an amazing feature. So if you're on Zoom, you've had people that tell you, hey, you're muted. You can control that also from here. All I need to do is unmute. So I can flip or tap, flip or tap. I wish this was around years ago. It wasn't, but it is now. And these things will help you be less distracted, less overwhelmed, less cognitive load. And when all of these small elements come together, you're able to hear your colleagues better. They're able to better hear you. And when that happens, then you have meetings that are more effective, they're shorter. And when you have shorter meetings, people tend to be happy. There's no need to repeat yourself. people are understood, they're heard, and that just makes the collaboration so much easier. So if you're looking for a very, very inexpensive way to A, lower the amount of meetings, B, increase productivity, and C, truly be what the Harvard Business Report says, be truly listening. So listen carefully. When it comes to using headphones, doesn't matter if it's this one or any other headphones, you want to use a dongle if you can. If it comes with a dongle, like at this one, it does, use it. This is how you get to use Microsoft Teams and this button right here, as well as the volume and all of the controls. So you don't have to fiddle around with your mouse or your laptop. You don't have to do any of that. Just make sure you use this. If you want to nerd out on why and all the particulars, all the science and physics, I've got a ton of videos on our YouTube channel where I go to in depth about dongles. Now, here's the good news on dongles. Okay. So just bear with me. Here's the good news. Dongles are going to go away. There are some developments from the folks at Intel as well as Microsoft. And with Windows 11 on the Microsoft side and with Intel chips that have EVO, both of those two things are going to allow you to connect directly natively via Bluetooth into laptops and PCs. That feature is rolling out as we speak. There are more manufacturers that are getting certified for this. These are separate. I want to repeat, these are separate from the Microsoft Teams certification. This particular headphones is certified for Microsoft Teams as of today, but it is not yet certified for the native Bluetooth connection so that essentially you can use it without a dongle and I have to say the and part because it's important, and have the controls built in so that they work together. So the laptop controls for Teams work in tandem with the controls like the mute, like the volume control, as well as the activation of the Teams app. If you want to know more about that, I have videos on that, or stay tuned to this channel. Follow us. Go ahead and follow us. We will be updating you as those developments happen. 2025 is going to be a pivotal year for Microsoft. If you're not aware of what's happening with Microsoft this year, they're going to eliminate Windows 10. And from estimates that I saw on Forbes this morning, 400 million computers, laptops are not going to be able to make that migration because they don't meet the minimum hardware requirements. Ouch. There's a lot of people, lots and lots of people. So we'll roll out more information as it comes through, but needless to say, you've got plenty of features on here that are going to make your life easier if you're a Microsoft Teams user, especially this mute. Let's go to the Solo Chef for a second. So take a look at this. So I've got it on my head. And a couple of things for me that I really like is that when I wear 'em, the ear cups on here are very comfortable. They breathe a little bit more than most of the headphones out there. They're perforated. You can see, let's see if my camera can zoom in on this. You could see in here, you've got, let's do this. Let's not mess around. I'll just show it to you. You've got a foam, and this foam actually has two layers in it. And those two layers allow for better breathability. And without that breathability, you get quite a bit of heat. And that's what is the most difficult thing right now with just about any headphones that you're going to wear is how long can I have it on my head before I have to take it off? Now, what I could tell you from my usage of this, I can go 2, 3-ish hours, like just leaving it on without even leaving, taking it off my head. About that point, around 3 hours or so, I'll put it on my neck and I might go out and grab something to eat, take a walk, whatever. But 3 hours is about the limit. And that is on the high side. And I've looked at a lot of headphones. I've used a lot of them. So this is right up there with just about any pair of headphones, even ones that are even more expensive, because even the more expensive ones don't have that feature to allow your ears to stay cooler. Big props to Jabra when it comes to the comfort factor. Okay, so we've established that less distractions with your neighbors or people around you or wherever you tend to work. They know that you're on a call. That's important. That'll help you focus. The other thing that helps you focus is that the built-in active noise canceling. Let's do a test. Let's do a sound test. I'm going to put on these headsets. I guarantee you the audio won't be as rich as this microphone, but you should be able to hear my voice. And what I have running in the back, besides my voice running, is an air filter, and it's picking up some of that. Still saying it's quiet enough, like in a library, but you probably don't want to be doing all this talking in a library. So this is what it would sound like if you were using this headset. Now, as you can see, it's registering my voice in the sound meter. And so I'm going to go quiet here, see if it picks up any of the fan noise in the background. To me, I audibly am hearing the fan noise because it's on over in the corner of this room, and I don't know if you're picking that up. So if you were on a call, you're on a virtual team meeting, you're talking to a patient, you're talking to a colleague, this is what it would sound like. Now, I don't have a lot of noise going on right now. My kid's not stumping up and down. Right above me is his little play area, and when he gets going, starts stumping and jumping and listening to tunes, he goes really nuts, and it sometimes it drives me crazy. But if he gets to burn a little energy, I'm happy. So I've done all of this talking here just so that you could see what it's like with this particular headset picking up the voice. Now, what I'm going to do, so because you probably were listening in on this wonderful microphone, this podcast microphone, I'm going to switch this up again. And what we're going to do so that you see what you may sound like when you're using your laptop, your native laptop, and you're talking into it. And when you're talking to your laptop, right, the audio on here isn't the best. And that's really the baseline for many people. So if I switch over to a speakerphone, watch what happens now. Give your brain the tools it needs to do that. So right now, for me, as I've got these on, the active noise canceling is on, the world around me has become much smaller. There was an interesting research published, Professor Lieberman, I believe is her name, not to be confused with Huberman, but Lieberman. She published a paper. If I get this wrong, let me know. But I'm going to summarize that paper. It basically said that the audio that you hear, so let's say you're listening to a podcast, if you listen to that music, podcast, whatever you're listening to, and you put on headphones, whether they're like these or the real cheapy earbuds, it makes a difference in your perception of what you're hearing. And when they surveyed the participants, this was something that they noticed that was a significant improvement in their perception. And so much so that when they asked people to rate their experience of whatever they were listening to, they had more favorable views of that person that was speaking. I can't say like, well, you mean that the audio changes the perception and it makes it so that they have a more favorable perception. That's an amazing thing. That's crazy. That's crazy. But it shows you the power of audio and your ability to focus and your perceptions of the person speaking. Mind blown. Mind blown. If you're curious and you want to know what does it sound like, I'm gonna show you right now. This gets into the study. So now watch this. You should hear me through the speakerphone. The quality is probably not the same. If the professor is correct, your perception of what you're hearing is not the same either. And if you had to muscle through this like you probably do every day through so many virtual meetings, now you understand why so many people have Zoom fatigue. The audio drains you, the cognitive load has to go up because now your brain is now switched into a different mode. Like, hey, what's going on? There's a lot more. The room, the echo, the bouncing, and whatnot makes it so that your brain has to work harder. Again, the analogy, your laptop, now more apps got turned on because now you're hearing more sounds and your brain is working harder to make sense of that. So now let me bring you out of that. And now I can talk to you like this, even like this, even like this. Love it. So audio matters, listening matters. The audience matters. And if you want to elevate the game that you're presenting to the world, you can do so by using a pair of headphones like this for your laptop. There are a number of other headphones that we have, but this one does the job in a way that I could say it's one of the top 5 that I've reviewed in quite a long time. It's packed with a bunch of features that are really well dialed in for that user experience, for the user that is at home. It's got a battery that goes 37 hours. It's more than enough, so you don't have to fiddle around recharging it. Pro tip, get the version that comes with the charging stand. That way you don't have to worry about plugging it in. But if you do need to plug it in, it comes with a USB-C where you just plug it in like this. Otherwise, these two little doohickeys that are there, these two metal receptors, those sensors there, when you're using the charging stand, it'll sit on the charging stand like so. Here, let me move that out of the way. It'll sit on there like so. Highly recommend the charging stand, especially if you're going to be using it for a significant amount of time. I'll tell you one other thing here that I really loved that I did not see this on other headphones is that when you connect this using your mobile phone, it's one of the easiest experiences that I've had. I didn't have to go into pairing mode on the phone. I just turned this on. As long as I had my Bluetooth running, it did all of that and walked me through it. A lot of people get stopped in their tracks because the pairing is one of the things that is frustrating for people that work from home and have never had to use this technology. You'd think it'd be simple. It's not always the case. And that's what I want to leave you with today. If you want to make sure that whether you're buying one for yourself or for an army of people, Global Tech now provides expert product support right through the Amazon app. Is as easy as 2 clicks. You hit get product support, you land on a page that has our phone number if you want to talk to a human, or if you just want to simply chat or look at self-support. And that goes directly to my team that is fully trained to get you up and running. You need support or somebody on your team needs help, we got you covered. So I just want to give a shout out to my team that helped put that together. It's a lot of work to get that done. Big props to them getting that set up with Amazon and partnering with them so now all of our customers that order from us can get the support they need. I want to thank you today for joining me on this video. If you want to nerd out on more videos, check out our Global Tech channel. So I want to encourage you to leave us a question, and we love engaging with the community. So thank you for nerding out with me, and I will see you next time.